The next morning, Jacob was actually up before me and had laid out a huge breakfast of chocolate chip pancakes, eggs, sausage, and coffee, which resulted in Hugo's declaring his undying love for the man. I, however, was kind of annoyed that my morning ritual of breakfast making had been briskly taken from me without my consent. But that didn't stop me from eating everything in sight, which made us late. After thanking Jacob, Harry, Hugo, and I charged up Central Park West and across the avenue at 77th Street to our school, All Saints Academy. All Saints is a privately owned, Gothic-style former church, all massive stone walls, stained glass windows, and soaring roof lines. Our tiger parents had loved this school because of its small and very exclusive enrollment, but they'd also been obsessed with its headmaster, Timothy Thibodeau. The man was highly intelligent, even by Angel standards. I had a like-hate relationship with Mr. Thibodeau. He was sharp, of course, but I didn't trust him. Not since he'd refused to let us return to school once we were under suspicion for our parents' deaths. Not charged with their deaths, just under suspicion. Yet he'd turned us away at the front door like a bunch of beggars in a Charles Dickens novel. At least he'd apologized for that slight a couple of weeks later, when he'd been forced to take us back. Even I had to admit that Mr. Thibodeau was good at handling the 20 kids in his class, nearly all of them privileged and untouchable. Harry and I, these days, were the exceptions. Our parents were dead and we were broke. But Mr. Thibodeau hadn't turned us away again. Not yet, at least, because we were paid up through the school year. Next year, of course, I had no idea what would happen. Harry and I were panting as we left Hugo at the door to the rectory, where the fifth graders had their classroom, and the two of us trotted up the front steps of the large stone church. We took a right turn off the narthex and climbed the stairway to the choir loft under the vaulted ceiling. This was our classroom, with its stunning long view of the nave and the altar. Mr. Thibodeau was waiting at the top of the stairs. He wore an impeccably cut brown suit, green-framed glasses, and a mournful expression. "I'm happy you angels can make it," he said, and I actually couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic. I noticed the grief-shocked faces of our schoolmates as Harry and I took our seats, and I gave CP a nod. We stowed our book bags and sat perfectly upright with our hands folded in front of us. "Due to your incessant texting, I'm sure you all know that Adele Church has been killed," Mr. Thibodeau said. "I would be grieving at the loss of any of you, but Adele, in particular, was a very promising student, a talented musician, and a generally sterling person." A few of the kids sitting behind me began to cry. Mr. Thibodeau noticed, but went on. "You may not know this, but my relationship with my students doesn't end at graduation. In a way, that's when it begins. I see all our graduates every year, and I am amazed at how each of them has grown. The brilliant ones don't always go straight to the top, but take a winding and unique path. The slackers sometimes spring into action, and sometimes they turn slacking into a fine art. But whatever my students do, whomever they become as adults, I take pride and pleasure in knowing that we all cross paths here, that we learned from one another here, and that we helped one another become." He trailed off, and one of the girls behind me gulped back a sob. "Adele lost her life, and we all lost her. We will never see her become who she was meant to be, but I know we will always remember our dear, shining Adele." Mr. Thibodeau crooked a finger in front of his lips, holding back tears as he looked across the room at an intricate stained glass crucifixion scene in one of the windows. "Please pray for Adele. Keep her in your thoughts. Honor her in whatever way you feel appropriate," he said, finally clearing his throat. "There will be a service for Adele this Saturday at St. Barnabas. Grief counseling will be provided here immediately. If you will all gather at my office door and form a line along the green wall..."